What's up, everybody, and welcome back. It's been an extremely long hiatus, and I explained what has been up in my other video, so why don't we go ahead and jump right in. Today I'm going to be talking about the month of Pride, Gay Pride, and I use the word gay as kind of an interchangeable term for all LGBT plus people. Today we'll be talking about the B in LGBT. As many of you know, I am bisexual. I came out when I was about 16. I actually waited to my 16th birthday to come out. And I had changed. Well, let's start at the beginning. I have always sort of known that I was bisexual and felt attraction to more than one gender. And it caused a lot of problems. It caused a lot of problems in my life growing up because I was raised in a very religious atmosphere. Went to church. At one point, I went to church 4 times a week. And on top of that, it was during the Bush administration when a lot of these feelings started to come out. For those outside the U.S. or too young to remember W, he was not kind to the gay community. Society at the time was extremely hostile to anybody who was not straight and not white. So it was very difficult. It was very difficult. Public opinion was very harsh. It was when also Bush signed into law the one man, one woman thing. So he went out of his way to make sure that gay people did not feel welcome in America. He went out of his way to do that, and we all need to remember that. So, moving on, as I hit puberty, I was still sort of religious, but they had instilled this very deep fear in me about my sexuality, and it was a terror for a long time because, not to get risque for our underage people out there, but my very first sex dream was about women. And for a long time, I thought it was a nightmare. Just because I woke up and I was so afraid somebody would find out. I was so afraid that I actually don't even remember anymore what I was afraid of. But my parents, not my mother, my father and my stepmother, my grandparents, my grandmother, my grandfather died when I was about 8. Everybody had instilled this fear of being gay into me. Like, they constantly joked, made real bad jokes about gay people. They would accuse me of being a lesbian, and yes, I use that word deliberately. I use the word accuse as if it was a crime, as if it was something to be ashamed of and to hide. They accused me of it, and naturally I became petrified. I don't know of what, maybe social ostracization, whatever. Becoming a social pariah, getting, rejected by my family, which, who cares now, and a host of other things, and that made everything so much worse. And it wasn't until it wasn't until I moved out of my father's house and really started to question my faith, that I started to become comfortable with the idea of being gay, like, in general. I was taught that to be very anti-gay, which is something a lot of us learned, and I internalized a lot of those messages, unfortunately, which is what led me to a lot of terrible feelings about myself. But once I started to question my faith and I kind of moved away from organized religion and I started to become comfortable with the idea, that's when a lot of things started changing for me. I switched schools when I was 16, middle of high school. It was very difficult, but I think looking back now, it was the best thing that I could have done for myself and just in life. I met many people there who were just, it was a total night and day change, because the high school I had been in before was the nice high school, very preppy, everybody very conservative, that's where the kids with money went. And then I transferred to the other school, which was supposed to be the dangerous poor school, and I had such a good time there. Not academically, I was not, we won't talk about my grades because I was not that good in school. I behaved badly. So when I transferred schools, I had a bunch of friends, and many of them were gay or bisexual or whatever. And it was just so normalized for me, and that was such a huge comfort. It put me in a completely different mindset. So at this time I was like late 15, almost 16, and I had just gone through a really bad breakup. So I was like questioning a lot about myself and like what I was gonna do and like what was gonna happen with my future, teenagers. And and so I really started considering, like, well, what does it mean? What do these sex dreams mean? Like, what does this attraction to women mean? Because I was attracted to women. Women are beautiful. Have you seen them? They're gorgeous. So I would see women in movies, or I would see women in the media or on the street, and my first thought was, wow, I want to be like her, and my second thought was, wow, holy shit, I want her to be my girlfriend. So, and those kinds of feelings when you're not sure what to do with them are very, very conflicting, and it was very difficult for me. I started thinking about these things, and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? What do these mean? What does it mean? And like I knew the word bisexual. I did. I like consciously knew it for a long time, but it never occurred to me that that's what it meant. Like, in retrospect, I'm just like, wow. But at the time, I remember where I was too. I was sitting on my bed at my aunt's house, and I was sitting in my bedroom on my bed. And I have no idea what I was thinking about up until that point, but I remember just suddenly, it's like being struck by lightning. The thought hit me, but what if I'm bisexual? And people out there, my gay people out there, they know that feeling when you see the pieces come together and the light goes on and you're just like, wow, what? That's so obvious. So it was like a light going on. And I finally like was able to understand, hey, this, first of all, isn't something to be ashamed of, but second of all, this is something that has a name. You're not crazy, you're not bad, you're not gross, which, being a lesbian is none of those things. But I still carried around a whole lot of real weird baggage, which I'll get into. So after having that just instantly illuminating thought of, what if I'm bisexual? It was like suddenly having the map to an area that I had found myself in for a very long time. And knowing sort of where to go and not even necessarily what to do, but just knowing that there's a path somewhere in front of me was life-changing. I was about late 15, transferred schools, met a bunch of friends, it was all very normal. So I came out to my friends at West High, the new school I was at, and obviously it wasn't a big deal because A, they didn't know me, and B, it was just, I might as well have said, hey, I'm 5'6", like, it's just facts. And I think that really bolstered me to be able to go forward with telling my friends at my original school, some of whom I had known from childhood, and they had known me as a particularly strong anti-gay Christian, which, surprise, internalized homophobia, biphobia, which we'll talk about. And and they saw me transition out of that into basically neutrality. So it was still really weird for me to just kind of go, hey guys, I like women. And all of them took it real well. All of them took it just fine. I don't know what I was worried about. I did it at my 16th birthday party. And I called 2 people beforehand, 2 people, to tell them on the phone. Because I just, they were the people I wanted to come out to. I ended up telling a lot of people, but their responses were either offensive or didn't matter. I called my mother and I told her, and she took it in stride. She was like, hey, me too. And which was cool because, you know, you want to be accepted by your brother. And the second person I called was my best friend since childhood. And she also was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, me too. It was so, again, it was so normal. And it was just so matter of fact that I think if I would have come out to different people and they would have taken it badly, that would have set me back even further. I was really relieved. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't that. Of course, I did get the, oh, are you attracted to me then? So from there, you know, it just kind of it was just a part of me. And it hasn't really, since it's, you know, it's just become old hat for me, and becoming involved in activism, and especially in the gay community, it's just kind of become a normal facet of my life in terms of, like, the things I invest in, the things I care about, the things I advocate for, things like that. And it hasn't really occurred to me, the kind of beliefs I've been carrying around, in relation to that. We call it biphobia, and there's a lot of biphobia, first of all, but there's a lot of talk about it in different circles. I want to clarify right here while we're talking about biphobia that calling yourself pansexual is not inherently biphobic or transphobic, because I have always considered pansexual to be sexual attraction regardless of gender. And bisexuality is also not transphobic. It's not. It doesn't mean there's only 2 genders. People are bilingual, but that doesn't mean there's only 2 languages. It means more than one, okay? Common usage dictates that it's more than one, okay? Attraction to more than one gender. So, now that we cleared that up, that's been kind of an ongoing discussion I've noticed lately is bisexual versus pansexual, and it's all good stuff. It's all good stuff, and we just need to get along, because it's not inherently transphobic. Because without trans people, we would have no pride. We wouldn't have it. It's all because of trans women of color, full stop. Speaking of pride, so it's only been the last couple years that I've really tried to celebrate pride, just because it's just been an area of my life that's been so normalized and kind of neglected that I was just like, whatever. And since becoming more involved in activism, and, you know, I kind of let it fall to the wayside. And now that that's a little more central to, you know, what I'm doing, I have noticed a lot of the thoughts that I carry around are still pretty problematic. And I blame a lot of religion for this, because that's where it starts. The number one problem that I have, and a lot of people have this, a lot of bisexual people have this problem, is that they don't think they're gay enough to be in the gay community. And that is, of course, ridiculous, because the B in LGBT is bisexual. It's not Beyonce, bees, or bicycles, man. It's bisexual. And we belong. We are part of the community. And unfortunately, that's still something that I struggle to unpack. When I share things about the gay community, or I say we, or whatever, I just, in the back of my head, there's always that thought of, well, this feels kind of fake because you're not actually gay enough. And that's something I feel like a lot of bisexual people struggle with. Pride was especially a big thing for me this year, because obviously I want to celebrate, but I'm in a heterosexual passing relationship. I'm dating a man, cis man. Not that that matters. dating a cis man, and, you know, walking down the street, we look like a heterosexual couple. He is heterosexual. I mean, unless you count Justin Timberlake, because that boy has the hots. I love you, Blake. So, yeah, and it just, I felt very much like I was in crisis. Not like going to walk off a bridge in crisis, but I really didn't feel like I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I just didn't. Neither of us look, I don't know what bisexual looks like, but you couldn't tell. We look, obviously, I present pretty femme all the time, and Blake looks like a lumberjack, had a baby with another lumberjack, and that lumberjack baby was raised by Bigfoot. Like, he's a very masculine man, which is great. I love it. So, yeah, we're very obviously heterosexual looking, and I can't get past that part. I want to say that I figured this all out in June, but I haven't. I find this coming up all the time in my own thoughts, that I'm not gay enough, or I don't need to call myself bisexual because I'm in a heterosexual relationship, and just, there's a lot that comes with it, and unfortunately that is something that I'm still unpacking. The end of the story is nothing got changed. But being bisexual, other than, you know, coming to terms with the idea that I'm normal and what I feel is normal, and it's fine to be attracted to women, and it's not dirty or gross or scary or wrong. It's something beautiful and natural and a part of me, and always has been. It's been a really wonderful realization to come to. And I just wanna end on talking a little bit more about the word bisexual. And I've been told a lot by my gay friends. I've been told a lot that the way I'm sexually attracted to people is closer to being pansexual than it is bisexual. Which is true. I imagine it's true. It's sexual attraction regardless of gender. But the word bisexual, as you can tell, it took me a really long time to get to that word, and I have a particular love just specifically for that word because it took me so long to get there, and it took so much out of me, and it cost so much in terms of mental stress and, you know, being yelled at by my family. When I came out to my aunt, whom I lived at the time, it did not go well. If you were wondering, did not go well. And to this day, they're not about it. So, paid such a high price, dealt with so much just torment regarding being bisexual by my family, by fucking society, everybody, because they constantly drill it into your brain. Oh, well, you're just horny. Don't you ever fucking say that to a bisexual, or a pansexual for that matter. Don't you ever fucking say that. Or just people who thought they had this better idea of what I felt than I did. And being teased a lot doesn't help. Schools don't want you to use the word gay, but they do allow kids to bully you on that basis. So, good job, public schools. You're killing it. So, yeah, I paid a really high price to use that word. And the word queer. I identify as queer because I also heard that a lot growing up, used against me in very hateful terms, from people I cared a lot about, people I loved, people I trusted, and I did not get that love or trust returned. So queer is another word that I deeply, deeply love, because I took it back for myself. Now it's my word. I use it on myself. Nobody can make that a painful word again. Unfortunately, and this is all just rambling, unfortunately, people who do use the word queer, you should not use it as a description for your entire community, because not everybody likes that word. And you shouldn't call other gay people queer unless they're okay with it, because it's, I don't want to draw any, like, big parallels. It's kind of like fag. It's not for you to use on other people. If you want to use it for yourself, that's fine. That's fine. If that applies to you and you want to use it, that's up to you. I love the word queer. It is beautiful. It is comfortable. Anyway, so that's just kind of where I was at. As far as Pride goes, it was, and it still is a crisis. And it's, all these, crises of conscience, they're all just things we have to learn to unpack. We have to learn to deal with. We, have to unlearn and relearn, and it's very difficult, especially when it relates to yourself. So I just want all my bisexual people out there to know you're not alone. Pansexual people, I'm also talking to you. I love you. Alright, so yeah, that's all I really wanted to talk about as far as Pride goes this year, because it was such a shocking realization that I still carried all these ideas around with me that I didn't really know how to go about solving them. And I'm kind of working through that, but as of right now, everybody's a work in progress. Everybody's in different spots. All that matters is we're trying. Alright, my beautiful people, my guys, gals, and non-binary pals, I love you. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.